Ethan Parker's ship shuddered violently as it passed through the outer atmosphere of the alien planet. Warning lights flashed across the control panel, and the engines groaned under the strain. He gritted his teeth, fingers dancing over the controls. "Come on, hold together," he muttered. Years of training and experience had taught him to stay calm in impossible situations, and right now, this was as impossible as it could get. The ship shook again, and a loud clang echoed from the hull. A burst of energy hit the cockpit, and the navigation system went offline. Ethan had no choice. He guided the ship downward, aiming for a forest clearing he could barely see through the thick green haze below. The landing was rough, shaking him violently, but he managed to bring the ship to a stop. Sparks flew from the damaged engine, smoke filling the cabin. "Okay," he said, swallowing hard. "Time to find help. If help exists here." Ethan suited up, grabbing his survival pack and his sidearm. The forest outside was unlike anything he had ever seen. The trees were tall, glowing faintly with soft blue veins, and the air hummed with strange energy. He took a careful step out of the ship, boots sinking slightly into the soft, moss-covered ground. The light was dim, filtered through thick leaves, giving the forest an almost magical appearance. But Ethan knew better. Beautiful as it looked, it could hide danger. He hadn't walked far when a small, frightened sound reached his ears. "Da, da," it whispered, barely audible. Ethan froze, scanning the shadows. He saw movement behind. A thick tree trunk. A small figure no taller than 3 feet peeking at him with wide, fearful eyes. "Hey," Ethan said gently, holding his hands up to show he meant no harm. "I'm not going to hurt you." The figure stepped out slowly. It was a child, or at least something very close to a human child. Its skin was pale green, eyes large and golden, and ears pointed slightly upward. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. The child's trembling body spoke of fear, but there was a spark of hope, too. Dad?" the child said again, voice barely audible. Ethan blinked. "Dad?" he repeated. I'm not your dad, but I'll help you, okay?" The child didn't move closer, only looked at him with wide, uncertain eyes. Ethan crouched down to appear less threatening. "What's your name?" he asked. The child hesitated, then whispered, "Kian." "Kian," Ethan repeated. "All right, Kian, we need to get you somewhere safe." As he spoke, Ethan noticed movement in the trees above, a figure watching them. It was tall and imposing, with armor that gleamed faintly under the forest light. The figure stepped forward, revealing herself. Her presence was commanding, yet there was worry in her eyes. "You have him," she said in a melodic, alien language. Then, seeing Ethan's confused look, she switched to broken English. My son?" "Yes," Kian whispered, clutching Ethan's sleeve. Ethan looked at the woman. She was extraordinary. Tall, graceful, with pale blue skin and long hair that shimmered like liquid silver. She moved carefully, her expression softening as she looked at her child. "My name? Lyra," she said, voice shaking. "I cannot move. You help?" Ethan quickly understood. Her armor was damaged, and she was clearly injured. Without thinking twice, he moved closer to the child and then to Lyra. "Don't worry," he said. "I'll help both of you." Lyra's eyes widened, a mix of relief and surprise. Ethan had not expected a human to step into this alien world and show bravery without hesitation. But his training, his instinct to protect, had taken over. He helped Kian climb onto his back. The child wrapped his small arms around Ethan's neck, resting his head against Ethan's shoulder. Ethan glanced at Lyra, who nodded weakly. He carefully lifted her, supporting her weight. "We need to get to safer ground," he said. The forest was dense and creatures scuttled in the undergrowth, their eyes glowing faintly. Ethan moved swiftly but cautiously, using his human intuition to find paths that seemed safe. Kian whispered occasionally, asking questions about the forest, the creatures, and even Ethan himself. Each time Ethan answered calmly, building trust with the child who had called him Dad without truly understanding the word. Hours passed, and the forest seemed endless. Finally, Ethan spotted a clearing with soft grass and a small stream. He laid Lyra down gently and knelt beside Kian. The child's eyes were tired but filled with admiration. "You, Dad," he said again, smiling faintly. Ethan chuckled softly, ruffling Kian's hair. "I'll be your protector, Kian. That's close enough for now." Lyra watched silently, her chest rising and falling with effort. She was studying Ethan carefully, noting his courage, his patience, and his willingness to help without expecting anything in return. Her people valued strength, strategy, and intelligence, but there was something different about this human, something she had never seen before. "You help," Lyra said finally. "My son, safe, because you." Ethan nodded. "We'll keep you both safe. I promise." Kian smiled faintly and snuggled closer to Ethan. Lyra's eyes glistened. Despite the pain and fear she had faced, she sensed something unusual about this human. He was more than just a stranger. He had qualities her people rarely saw: courage, empathy, and determination. As night fell, Ethan built a small shelter near the stream. He made a fire, careful not to draw attention, and prepared a simple meal. Kian sat close, fascinated by the fire and the warmth of a human touch. Lyra leaned against a tree, watching them. She said nothing, but her thoughts were racing. Humans were unpredictable, she realized. They were not as powerful as the strongest warriors of her planet, yet they could inspire loyalty, bravery, and protection in ways her people could not. This one human had earned her child's trust, and perhaps in time, her respect. As Ethan looked at the child sleeping peacefully on his lap, he felt a sense of responsibility he had never experienced before. He did not know what the future held or how he would survive on this alien planet, but he knew one thing: he would not abandon this child. Not now, not ever. And somewhere in the shadows, Lyra's heart, toughened by war and duty, began to stir with a feeling she had long buried. She had watched humans from a distance, but she had never imagined one could touch her life so profoundly, simply by being brave, kind, and willing to protect what mattered most. The night passed slowly, filled with the sounds of the alien forest, and the quiet breaths of two who had found safety in an unlikely human. Ethan did not yet know that this was only the beginning of a journey that would change not only his life, but the lives of Kian, Lyra, and the entire world around them. The sun rose over the alien forest, casting soft blue and purple light across the towering trees. Ethan Parker stirred from his sleep, careful not to wake Kian, who was curled up beside him. Lyra sat nearby, her gaze distant, but her eyes followed Ethan's every movement. He had proven himself in the previous night's chaos, but the journey ahead would test him in ways he had never imagined. Ethan gently shook Kian awake. "Time to move, buddy. We have a long way to go." The child rubbed his eyes and mumbled, "Dad?" Ethan smiled. "Yep, still me." Lyra struggled to her feet, supported by Ethan's steady hand. Her injuries were not severe, but they slowed her movements. "We must hurry," she said. Danger, everywhere. Ethan scanned the forest. He noticed subtle signs of life, strange tracks, glowing eyes between the trees, and distant roars. This planet was alive in ways Earth could never be, but he had faced danger before. What made him different was not super strength or advanced technology. It was his calm mind, quick thinking, and courage under pressure. They moved cautiously through the thick undergrowth, Ethan carrying supplies while keeping one eye on Kian. The child chattered nervously, asking questions about every strange plant and creature they passed. Ethan answered patiently, explaining things he barely understood himself, but keeping his voice steady to calm the child. Hours into their journey, the forest opened into a wide canyon. Ethan paused, noticing movement along the canyon's edge. Dozens of alien figures, armed and armored, were watching them. They were part of a rogue faction known to attack travelers. Lyra's eyes widened in fear. "They hunt us," she whispered. Ethan stepped forward, placing himself between Kian, Lyra, and the approaching threat. His sidearm was ready, but he also relied on his human instincts. Humans often survive through cleverness rather than raw power. Using the canyon's terrain, he led the child and Lyra through narrow pathways, dodging ambushes and using rocks and vines to block attackers. Kian's small hands clung to Ethan as they moved. "You strong," the child said quietly. Ethan chuckled softly. "Not strong, kid, smart. That's what keeps us alive." By nightfall, they reached a hidden grove that Lyra recognized. Ancient stone structures rose from the ground, covered in glowing moss. "Safe here," she said, relief in her voice. But not for long. Ethan built a small fire and used materials from the grove to create a temporary shelter. Kian helped, stacking small stones and carrying sticks. Ethan watched the child closely, impressed by his resilience. Even in a strange world, Kian's spirit remained bright. As they rested, Lyra finally spoke. "Human. Different. You care for child. Not afraid. You brave." Ethan shrugged modestly. "I just do what's right." "That's all." Lyra studied him, her expression unreadable. "Your courage, humans. Strange, my people. Strong, skilled, but you, more than strength, you." "Heart," Ethan blinked. "Heart?" "Yes," she said. "Protect, care. You risk life. For child. For me." Ethan felt a strange warmth at her words. He had never thought of humans as special, just resourceful and brave, but here in this alien world his qualities stood out. And it wasn't just about survival. It was about loyalty, trust, and compassion, things that could not be measured in strength or skill. The next day they continued toward Lyra's city. The journey was filled with small challenges, crossing a river of glowing liquid, avoiding large predator creatures, and navigating unstable terrain. Ethan solved problems with simple human ingenuity, using vines as bridges, creating distractions for predators, and finding hidden paths that aliens overlooked. Kian stayed close, learning from Ethan. The child began to mimic his strategies, thinking like a small human tactician. Lyra watched silently, admiration growing with each obstacle Ethan overcame. At one point, the rogue faction attacked again, this time in full force. Ethan positioned Kian behind him and Lyra at his side. Using quick thinking, he lured the attackers into a narrow canyon where their numbers became a disadvantage. He set traps using fallen rocks and natural pitfalls, slowing the attackers and forcing them to retreat. Lyra's eyes widened in astonishment. "You humans, clever, unpredictable," she said. Ethan wiped sweat from his brow. "Sometimes it's not about fighting harder. It's about thinking smarter." The child giggled, clutching Ethan's hand. "You, my hero, Dad." Ethan smiled, ruffling Kian's hair. "Just doing my job, buddy." By evening, they reached the outskirts of Lyra's city, a massive alien settlement built with glowing crystal towers and protected by energy barriers. Aliens patrolled the streets, some wary of the human, others curious. Ethan's heart pounded as he realized the journey was not over. He would have to prove himself to an entire alien society, not just a child and his mother. Lyra led them through hidden paths, reaching a secure chamber in the city. She guided Kian to a resting area and then turned to Ethan. "You saved him, saved me. My people see you." "Now," Ethan nodded. "I'll do whatever it takes to keep him safe. And you too." Lyra studied him closely, noticing the human qualities that made him stand out. Bravery, patience, cleverness, and a heart that cared for the vulnerable. She had seen many warriors, but none like Ethan. In her culture, strength often came from skill or power. Humans, she realized, had something different, something rare and valuable. That night, as Kian slept peacefully, Ethan and Lyra spoke quietly. She explained her culture, the dangers of the city, and the responsibilities of being a parent in her world. Ethan listened carefully, learning quickly, showing the adaptability that humans were known for. "I never thought a human could be trusted so completely," Lyra admitted. Ethan smiled faintly. "Sometimes trust isn't about what species you are. It's about what you do when it matters." Lyra's expression softened. For the first time in years, she felt hope, not just for her child, but for the possibility that a human could belong in her world, not as an outsider, but as someone who could truly protect and care. Outside, the alien city hummed with life. Inside, a human, a child, and a recovering queen formed an unlikely family bound by trust, courage, and the promise of protection. Ethan did not yet know what the future would hold. But one thing was certain: He had earned a place in their hearts, and his human spirit had left an impression no alien could ignore. The journey to safety had tested his skills, bravery and heart, but it had also revealed a truth Ethan had long suspected. Humans had something extraordinary, something that could bridge worlds, inspire loyalty, and even change the course of an alien civilization. And Lyra, watching him quietly from the shadows, realized that the human beside her child was more than a stranger. He was someone who could become part of her family and perhaps in time something even more. The city shimmered under the soft glow of alien towers, their light reflecting off crystalline surfaces. Ethan Parker walked through the quiet streets with Kian close by, holding his hand. The child's small fingers gripped his tightly, a silent reminder of the bond that had formed over the past days. Behind them, Lyra followed, her pace slow but steady. She was recovering, yet her eyes remained sharp, taking in every detail of her city, her people, and this human who had proven himself in ways she had never imagined. Ethan had learned much during their journey: the alien language, the customs and the subtle rules that governed Lyra's society. But more than that, he had shown courage, quick thinking, and care, qualities that set humans apart in a way even the aliens could not ignore. As they reached a secure chamber in the heart of the city, Lyra finally stopped and turned to face him. "You saved Kian, saved me, saved your life," Lyra said slowly, her voice filled with awe. "Your heart, different from others. My people, strong, skilled. But you, more than skill. You care. You brave, human." Ethan met her gaze, feeling the weight of her words. "I didn't do it for praise," he said quietly. "I did it because it was the right thing to do." Lyra studied him for a long moment. Then, with a voice that trembled slightly, she said something Ethan never expected. "Ethan Parker, I asked you, be my husband." Ethan froze. His mind raced. Husband? This was not something he had anticipated when he landed on this strange planet. Yet, as he looked at Lyra, standing tall despite her injuries, and Kian sleeping peacefully nearby, he understood the meaning behind her request. It was not just a tradition. It was trust, respect, and the recognition of the bond he had formed with her child and her people. "Lyra, I don't know what to say," Ethan admitted, his voice soft. This is a lot." "I know," she said, stepping closer. "But humans, you show courage, kindness, heart. You protect, child, protect me, protect all. My people see you. Different, you belong here. With us." Ethan's heart pounded. He had faced impossible missions, fought through countless dangers, and survived situations that would have defeated anyone else. But this was different. It was not about survival. It was about love, trust, and responsibility. He glanced at Kian, who stirred slightly in his sleep, murmuring, "Dad." Ethan felt a surge of emotion. That simple word spoken by this small, brave child meant more than anything. It meant trust, belonging, and hope. I will do it," Ethan said finally, his voice steady. "I will be your husband. And I will be Kian's father. I will protect you both no matter what." Lyra's eyes widened and a soft smile appeared on her face. For the first time in years, she felt a sense of peace. The human beside her had not only survived the dangers of her world, but had proven himself worthy of a place in her life. She had never thought such a bond could exist between a human and her people. Yet here it was, real, strong, and unbreakable. Kian stirred fully now, opening his golden eyes. "Dad?" he asked, voice bright with excitement. Ethan knelt and hugged the child tightly. "Yes, buddy, Dad." Kian laughed, a sound that echoed through the chamber and warmed Ethan's heart. Lyra watched them, her expression softening. She knew that this family, unusual as it was, represented a new future for her people. A future where humans and aliens could trust, respect, and protect one another. Over the next days, Ethan adapted to his new role. He learned the customs of Lyra's people, trained alongside their warriors, and helped Kian adjust to life in the city. Despite being an outsider, Ethan's bravery, intelligence, and compassion earned him respect. Aliens who had once doubted humans now looked at him with admiration. Lyra spent time with Ethan and Kian, teaching him about her culture, the history of her people, and the responsibilities of parenthood in her society. She watched Ethan patiently learn, asking questions and showing genuine care. It was clear to everyone that this human was different. Humans, she realized, were not just survivors, they were capable of inspiring loyalty, courage, and love in ways her own species often could not. One evening, as the three sat together by a glowing stream in the city, Lyra spoke softly. Ethan, my people, feared humans, strong, unpredictable, dangerous, but you show heart, you teach us, humans capable of more than we believed. Ethan smiled, looking at the child who had called him dad, and then at the queen who had asked him to be her husband. I don't know about all that, he said, but I do know that we're stronger when we care for each other. When we protect each other. That's something humans do, naturally. Lyra nodded, a thoughtful expression on her face. Yes, naturally. You, human, different, you, special. The bond between them grew stronger with each passing day. Kian thrived under Ethan's care, learning new things and feeling safe for the first time in his life. Lyra healed fully, her trust in Ethan complete. And Ethan, he had found something he never expected in the stars, a family, a purpose, and a connection that transcended worlds. As the alien city celebrated the human who had become a hero and protector, Ethan realized something profound. Humans were often underestimated by other species. They were not the strongest, the fastest, or the most technologically advanced, but they had courage, compassion, and determination, qualities that could change worlds, save lives, and even bridge the gap between species. Lyra approached Ethan one evening, standing close enough that he could feel the warmth of her presence. Ethan Parker, you human, my husband, Kian's father, my heart, belong to you now. Ethan took her hand, feeling the bond they had formed grow stronger. And mine to you, he replied. We'll face everything together, I promise. The stars above seemed to shine brighter that night, reflecting the new hope that had been born on this alien world. A human, a child, and an alien queen had come together not through conquest, but through courage, compassion, and heart. Together they were a family, and in that they had proven something extraordinary. Humans, Ethan realized, were capable of greatness beyond imagination. Not because of weapons or technology, but because of the simple, powerful qualities that defined them. Bravery, loyalty, and the ability to care deeply for others. In the face of alien worlds, unimaginable dangers and impossible odds, humanity's true strength shone brightly, and as Ethan, Kian, and Lyra watched the city glow beneath the alien sky, they knew one thing for certain. Together, they could face any challenge, protect each other, and create a future that neither humans nor aliens could have imagined alone.